This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today has overcome tremendous obstacles and challenges, from loved ones passing to losing funding. In the face of adversity, he gained strength and inner confidence that he could push forward, be successful, and lead others with this inner wisdom. His company has been featured on CNN, ESPN Radio, NPR, and Vogue. He is the CEO of Max Strength Fitness. Please welcome Jeff Tomaszewski.
You did great, man. Way to power through.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I love when I read a bio such as yours and am moved by it emotionally and am also inspired by it. Your story that you shared with me and that we're going to speak about today is just amazing. I've had only two other guests on my show with a similar background, and I wonder how that common thread of losing loved ones and being able to push through the face of adversity, how that is part of the entrepreneurial journey and how that's able to make you as successful as you are today. I guess we can start there, is to kind of speak about that background that you have of go back to 5-year-old Jeff.
Yeah, so my dad sat us down on the couch, me, my two older brothers, and he told us what we were all dreading to hear. But I knew at the age of 5 in my gut exactly what he was going to say. And he said, "Mom's gone." You know, my mom suffered from ovarian cancer and battled hard for 18 months, and then she passed away. Hardest part of my life, one of the hardest times of my life, second hardest time was when my wife passed away just recently. But when my mom passed away, at that time, a seed was planted in my life and just a passion to help people become strong and functional, because I saw what my mom went through chemo and radiation, and it just deteriorated her body, her mind, and her soul. And I wanted to try to find somewhere in my world that I could help, combat that. So as I got into high school, I was very into sports, and I saw our athletic trainer helping all of us athletes, help us get back to play while increasing our strength and our function through therapy. I was like, man, this is interesting, because I love sports and I love medicine, and I just like, this is my calling. And so after high school, I graduated, and went into college. I became an athletic trainer and a strength conditioning coach. And upon graduation, I was in a physical therapy clinic working as a clinician, as an athletic trainer. And that's where I discovered a protocol where we could profoundly improve the quality of strength in a fraction of the time most people spend in the gym. I was like, this is my calling, because now I can go out and help so many people. The problem with the physical therapy, though, I found very quickly was, you have insurance benefits, but you only have so many sessions to be able to give in for therapy, and you get stuck right when you're about to get strong and fit. So I wanted to go and serve the general population, and that's where I've spent the last 20-plus years just mastering my craft and thousands of dollars just refining our protocol that we have today, so we can typically reverse the aging process for men and women over 50 without breaking a sweat, 20 minutes twice a week. So it's been a profound calling for me, because I firmly believe everybody deserves to be healthy, fit, and strong without wasting hours in the gym.
I think that I think everybody listening can truly appreciate to not have to work out for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, right.
What I think is also great about that, and there's so much to unpack there in what you just shared, and we're going to dig into a lot of it, but just staying on the topic of the 20-minute workout. As entrepreneurs, as business leaders, and then, as you mentioned, also the older population, as people that are busy and that have so much to do in our days, to be able to understand that 20 minutes is really all you need is tremendous, because we overwhelm ourselves thinking, I need to work out for an hour. I need to run 10 miles. I need to work out for an hour and a half. I need to stretch and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, you can actually accomplish a lot of that through the training that you've mentioned and a lot of your YouTube videos that we'll talk about. One of the things that you mentioned that you could expand on a little bit is intensity of the workout. So it's not just walking on the treadmill for 20 minutes. It's the intensity that you put in, right?
Right, yeah. So we use a biological model, and so it would go back, when we ask people what's the number one reason they don't exercise consistently, their number one objection is always time. I don't have enough time, right? And so for the entrepreneurs in the crowd, they'll understand the term of ROI, return on investment.
Sure.
So I'm always asking the question, what's the least amount of time I can spend exercising to get the optimal results? So what we utilize at Max Strength Fitness is known as the minimum effective dose. So, for example, the minimum effective dose of boiling water is you got to get the water to 212 degrees. 212 degrees, you've got boiling water. 211, you don't. 213, it's not going to get any hot. It's just continue to boil. The pharmaceutical companies bank their livelihood on the minimum effective dose, meaning they have a drug that they produce that doctors prescribe, say it's blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever it might be. But that drug has to have what we call a minimum effective dose because too much of the drug is toxic, could have an adverse effect or kill you. Not enough doesn't do anything, so they're prescribing a specific dose and frequency. So just like a doctor would prescribe a specific dose and frequency of medication, that's what we do at Max Strength Fitness is we prescribe a certain dose or intensity and frequency of exercise. So we use a biological model of it's called the stimulus recovery response. So, for example, to keep it in layman's terms, let's say my goal was to get the world's best suntan, which I don't advocate, but let's just use that for our example, right? I could go out on a hot, sunny day in anywhere in the United States here and get a decent suntan if I spend some time. Now, the stimulus that creates the suntan is the UV radiation from the sun, right? Or we could take that UV radiation and increase its intensity by bottling it up and put it into a tanning bed. And within 5 to 6 minutes, we could get just as good, if not a better result than we did sitting outside when the sun's hot on a summer day. So what changed? We increased the intensity of the UV radiation. That then created the stimulus, and then we allow recovery, a couple hours, days, reddening of the skin to get your response, which is your suntan. That's what we do at Max Strength Fitness. We bring the intensity of the exercise up and bring the volume and frequency down because there's an inverse relationship between the two. You can't go into the gym and work out hours on end, multiple days a week. You only have so much energy to expend. But what most people do is they go into the gym spinning their wheels hours on end, expecting to get great results. Because as soon as it starts to get harder, challenging, or the intensity increases, they stop. It's discomforting. It's not. Let's face it. Exercise in itself, done truly, is not fun, right? But it's a necessary evil, if you will, to get the result. So we bring the intensity up, and by intensity, we meet the client where they're at. So we see clients from, we typically deal with entrepreneurs or C-suites, 40 and above, but we see 80-year-olds. I've got 4 90-year-olds.
Wow.
So we meet them where they're at. And at the end of the day, we're going to take their intensity and ramp it up at their pace. So it's not like we're coming in like CrossFit and all these other modalities where people are just trying to kill you when you exercise. So the intensity for an 80-year-old is going to be vastly different than intensity for a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old. But again, we're going to meet them where they're at and slowly increase that intensity over time so they can continue to get that stimulus to get the response. So what we do is we do one set to what we consider true muscular failure or fatigue. We call that an inroad. When you come into the exercise, you have a full tank of gas, energy, and strength. Our sole goal is to momentarily weaken you as best we can. We call that an inroad. I want to empty that gas tank, if you will, of your strength. That's the stimulus that creates change once you walk out the door. Then we allow recovery of 2 to 3 days of rest and recovery. That's when the body changes and adapts. Bring you back, repeat that process. So it's 20 minutes is the dose. Intensity of the exercise increases. The frequency is twice a week. So 20 minutes twice a week. That's your busy day.
I love the prescription. The prescription's so cool. I dabble in fitness and strength training and all the different, as my doctor said, trendy nutrition things that are happening here. One of them, the hot button was I use turmeric, and she was just like, "Oh, you are part of all the trendy stuff." I said, "Yeah, I guess so."
Yeah.
But I love the prescription because what we've learned is that one workout might be good for you, but it might not be good for me. And we might have the same body type and everything, but there's just little nuances. So I love that you have this different approach. And then I love the intensity approach of it. I had a big smile when you brought up the UV rays because I went to your YouTube channel. And when I go to YouTube channels, I do it a little bit differently. And it's probably because I have one too. I like to see the first YouTube video. I like, of course I saw the one that you sent me of the most recent one, which was done really, really well. And I love the bloopers in it. But I went back to your very first one. And actually it wasn't until I think your third or fourth one that you actually speak in it. And you brought up the UV rays and you're like, boom, we do not endorse tanning. I thought it was so cool. Again, we're going to go back a second, but while we're on this topic of YouTube, because I think that this speaks to marketing and the entrepreneur and even the people climbing the corporate ladder, is that self-promoting and marketing and sharing knowledge and information, which you do, is essential today in our day and age of marketing. The days of putting out all of our features and bells and whistles are essentially over. The people still do them, but they don't resonate with the public as well as going in, creating content that offers tips, that offers advice, that helps somebody through a journey essentially for free to the point where when they're ready to make a decision to purchase, they then reach out to you. So I want to just go back to your YouTube journey here a little bit, because anybody who's listening and is thinking about it, they see this polished video that you put out, or that I now am fortunate to put out at this point. They don't see our first videos. And so they think that they're like, I can't do that. And so they get hung up on that. So can you just share a little bit about some of the challenges and the breakthrough for you of when you decided to start making content like that?
Yeah, so I mean, you obviously you can go back and see it. They're still all up there.
Yeah, they're great.
I mean, they were bad. I mean, it's been a definite evolution in our video, not only from my content, the way I speak, the presentation. Colleen, my director of operations, does all the production and all the bells and whistles behind the back end. So, yeah, we've come a long way for sure. But I knew in the beginning when we were marketing that content is king. And I want to be top of mind for anybody that's either interested in fitness or they're thinking about it, so that I show up consistently. 3 times a week is our deliverable frequency. So we come by email. We do a content-based every Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday are my motivational and inspirational videos, if you will. We have over 100 of them now. So every week we show up consistently. You're always expecting those 3 days a week, Jeff, to pop up in your inbox and give you some type of chip and trip. And it's not salesy. It's all education. And my whole approach with the marketing is educational-based content marketing. So I want to give them as much value as possible up front for free before they ever give me $1 in return. Because one of our core values at Max Strength Fitness is to over-deliver. We want to give more value to our clients than they give us in payment. And we don't compete on price, so we got to make sure we show up at a high level. So, yeah, creating that content, we love it. Clients love it. They rave about it. We could charge for that content, but it's part of their membership, and it's open to anybody that wants to opt into our newsletter. So, we love creating them, and clients rave about them, so we'll keep doing them.
The other thing that I see by creating content, or that I've learned by creating content, is that it helps us also polish off like what we're talking about, to be able to speak clearer, to be able to share these ideas, these tips that you have inside of the business that are sometimes trade secrets, and then you could share them with the public, and it comes across really well because it's not just a doctor or a physical therapist talking. It's Jeff just sharing what he's thinking, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, the content that I give out is for my own personal benefit. So, because I have to practice what I preach and remind myself constantly, I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination. So, it's a great reminder. I go back and watch them too, not from an ego perspective, but to keep just rinse and repeat, and those habits and forming those daily things as we go.
Yeah, and the research that goes into them. So this brings us back to this childhood, and where you said a seed was planted to help others. When you think about the content that you create, it's to help others. The content that you create is, like you said, you could charge for it. And so I'm in insurance, and I was researching other insurance agencies because I'm coming out with some kind of content kit as well for workers' compensation. So I'm doing my research on it, and I'm like, how many other brokers are offering this? And what I found is other brokers are offering it, but they'll be very specific, like client only. So they don't share it with the public. It's client only enrolls in it, or they do charge for the content. So it's not something that everybody does, but for me, I feel like it's so important to give and to be able to give freely. So for you, when this moment happened, you're 5 years old, and your father shares this news with you, and you feel like it's important to you to give to others or help others, that is. 5 years old, I mean, it's really more you're looking back at it, right? So what was that?
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that and that journey of helping others.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I've always just been given by God, the passion to be a giver. Like, for example, on Christmas Day, I like to watch everybody else open up their presents first, and then I'll save mine for the end. A little bit of a delayed gratification. But I love seeing people's eyes light up and the joy in their hearts. I love just doing things and giving back to the community or in my, to my team or whatever it is, because giving for me just fulfills my heart, fulfills my cup, if you will. So I think the more we can give in value, the more we're going to get in return. So it's always been a passion of mine just to give as much as I can, because I firmly believe if we help people get what they want, we'll in turn get what we want without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and you speak a lot about that, and you follow some really great mentors, Zig Ziglar and Gandhi and others like that many of us follow as well. And you have a practice of meditation and gratitude. I'm sure that plays as well into this idea of helping others. Yeah,
gratitude is so, and I got a YouTube video on gratitude. There's if you Google it, there's 149 benefits of meditation and gratitude, right? So coming from a place of gratefulness, I find you can't be grateful and angry at the same time. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. So if you come and start your day with what you're grateful for, it just primes your mind to be looking for other things. And it doesn't have to be huge things. It could literally be the sun is shining on my face today. Like this morning I was sitting out on my deck and the sun's rising up and it's coming up. And as I'm meditating and in my gratitude practice, it's just beaming. So I'm just grateful for the sun today. I could walk outside and hear the birds chirping. It could be little things, but then, my health, my family, my team, my clients, it could be big picture things as well. But I find if you can start your day and end your day with gratitude, it can make a profound difference in your life.
When did you learn about this practice and philosophy?
It's probably been about 7 to 8 years, maybe 10 years now, probably a decade. I'm a big junkie when it comes to self-improvement. I just geek out on everything self-improvement. So I'm always trying to learn and better myself. I'm a very growth-minded person because I believe you're either growing or you're dying. It could be spiritually, it could be mentally, it could be physically, it could be with your relationships and your business. If you're not putting forward action and trying to get better at least a little bit every day, then people think, well, you're just stagnating. No, you're actually decreasing. And the thing I see, so many people walk around this earth kind of zombie-like. They're just kind of, going through their day-to-day, and they're just going through, and they're bitching and complaining about it, instead of taking action and changing it. I believe we are all given so much God-given ability and talents, and so many people don't tap into those. Mm-hmm. And every day I'm just trying to scratch the surface of what God's given me, and I just look forward to the future because I think I can serve so many people and make such a huge impact. That's why we're franchising our business. Me alone as a personal trainer, I can only impact so many because my time, if we're doing one-on-one like we do, I only have so many hours in the day. That's why I employ an amazing team of life transformers. So they're an extension of me. And now that's why we're going to franchise, so we can be an extension of our brand and we can make a profound impact on the quality of people's life as they age.
Are you a Tony Robbins guy?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah, I picked up a few of those. Yeah. I myself as well, back in, I think it was like 2015-ish is when I really dug deep into Tony Robbins, got all his audios, and really started digging deep in self-development. Self-development, self-improvement, and then you just kind of go down the path, right? Finding all the different people. What's really cool is that it's nothing new. It's just new ways of putting it out there. So when you hear Tony Robbins or Tom Bilyeu or Sinek, Simon, all the newer ones now, it's really the philosophy of it all. Goes back to the Stoics, and such great stuff there. There's Ryan Holiday has a really great channel on the Stoics. I love all of that.
I'm a subscriber.
You are, yeah, me too, me too. It's good stuff. I mean, and it feels good. So I want to talk about franchising because that is something that is really cool, and not every business owner can say. But just kind of like to kind of bring this gratitude piece up and your past up into kind of like finalizing here is that. I'm assuming that a lot of this practice, this gratitude practice and this meditation and this understanding of, like you said, your God-given abilities, this belief in yourself is what has helped you overcome these challenging situations. And we didn't even talk about your wife and how it's only been a year, but through this inner belief, you've been able to push through.
Yeah, I mean, my wife died June of last year in 2021. We were at a hotel. We were just about to go on our family vacation down to Destin, Florida. So every year for Christmas, we'd get a big house, and her family would come. That'd be our gift to them. And there's 18 of us. We'd have an amazing time. And so when we leave early out of Cleveland, I've got 3 kids, teenage girls. So we like to stay at the hotel right on the property there at the airport, so we can just take a quick shuttle, get on the flight. It was 6 a.m. So we got in about 11, checked in, fell asleep about midnight, and then 1 a.m., about an hour later, woke up to my youngest daughter, who's in the room with us, yelling at Mom to stop snoring. Well, Mom wasn't snoring. She was gasping for air. And so I immediately knew that something was wrong with my background in athletic training and emergency response. So immediately called 911, started doing CPR, 15 minutes, if you can believe it, before EMS arrived. And, at that time they took her to the hospital, and within 20 minutes, they pronounced her dead. Fit as hell, and a product of our product, and no family history or pre-existing condition. And what they can surmise after the autopsy was that, and it wasn't even conclusive, but some type of plaque had built up, flipped over, and immediately caused 100% blockage, which is known as a widowmaker. And the first symptom is sudden death, cardiac arrest. Wow. So there's nothing anybody, I couldn't have done anything differently. So, you live with that. But at that time, it's like, it all came full circle for me, sitting there.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's okay. Yeah, hold it there.
Thinking back to the 5-year-old Jeff that, I got to go home now and tell my girls that their mother passed. Well, then I just kept replaying that conversation that my dad had with us and the strength that he had to have had. So I try to, channel that inner being of my dad telling us at that young age, because my girls were a little bit older than I was. But still, just lose your mother. It's horrific, and I don't wish it on anybody, obviously. And I lost my mom, and then I lost my wife, and now I can relate to my dad because he lost his wife, and he had to raise 3 boys. I have to raise 3 girls, solo. So he's been a huge cornerstone for me to lean on from that experience. And, look, grief is a bitch, and it's until you experience it, you don't know what you don't know. The brain fog's real. You forget names. You forget what you're doing. I'm a very high productive guy and a very type A guy, and I pride myself on a good memory. And it's just like when your cognitive function goes, it's like, what is going on with me? And so you go through the path of grief, and it's different for everybody, right? I have a tremendous support group and family and friends, so it's been amazing. My team has been amazing through the entire journey. That's when I started this company. The first business book I ever read was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And so the whole E-Myth is trying to set up your business as if you were going to franchise it and scale it, whether you ever do or not. So as a technician, I'm a personal trainer, and I have an entrepreneurial seizure. Like, I can do this on my own, and I can have a company and be my own boss. Most people don't. They become their own. They own their own job instead of owning their own business, right? Because you want to work on the business rather than in the business. So I always, from day one, created systems, processes, and everything to make this a scalable business so that it became a self-managing company. I've got an amazing team, a director of operations, Colleen, my 2 managers at my studios, and just the day-to-day, I don't have to worry about it. So when my wife did pass, I was able to take a step back and take care of myself, but more importantly, my girls, in the worst moment of our life. So I'm so grateful for that. I've set the company up that way, and I've hired amazing people to be able to run it. Now year and a few months later, now we're starting to get back into it. We were about to franchise that May, and then my wife passed, so we put that on the shelf for a little bit. But, God's got a plan, and I just have to have faith, because otherwise, man, life sucks. So I wake up every day, like I said, grateful for what I do have, and the ability to still be able to make a profound impact on people, despite the tragedies that I've endured. And they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'd agree. So here we are trying to impact more lives going forward with franchising and scaling the business.
What an amazing story, and an emotional one for us, in that losing a loved one is just, it's devastating, right? But I think for our listeners here, when you hear this story, I mean, like, look at what you've been able to really face. Look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, this sucks, but I have a business. And you said this in your bio, is I have an obligation to my employees and to the people that I've built this business for, to help others, right? And so I think so many people, as you mentioned earlier, go through life making excuses and say, I'm too fat, I'm too weak, I have this disability, or the world's against me. Like for me, I have dyslexia, and so we can take these things. We lose a loved one. We could take these things and we can say, you know what, that's my excuse. That's my excuse in the world, and that's why I'm not going to move forward, right? We can take that and as you said, harness it into passion and use it for good and help others. And I really commend you and applaud you on that. I mean, what you experienced, and then the irony of it happening, once as a child and being 3 siblings, and then today. I applaud you for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Moving into this franchising idea, and I think another great lesson in this journey that you experienced with the passing of your wife is that things have timetables, and you're type A, as you said, and we look at things and we say, there's a plan, right? I'm going to do this by this date. I'm going to do that by that date. But I think it's also important to learn from this story here is that life happens. And you have to be able to adjust to life and what's most important, family and loved ones, right? And so at first you were going to plan to franchise in May, but obviously couldn't do that, and shelved it. And now it seems as though you're reviving this franchise idea. And I'd love to hear what this opportunity looks like, what goes into franchising. And I think, and I'm going to kick it back to you here, I think that when you talk about Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, that's like the foundation to be able to get to franchising. And he speaks about it in the book too. Wonderful. I mean, tremendous book for all of our listeners. You got to pick it up. So could you share a little bit about that opportunity and what that journey is like to franchising?
Yeah, I mean, for franchising, you have to make everything duplicatable, scalable. It's got to be reproducible, right? So if I'm a McDonald's franchise, I'm making Big Macs. I'm not making Whoppers or pizza, although I think they tried pizza and they failed, obviously. So, but it has to be where anybody you can bring in and they can have your systems and your operations, your manual, and they can reproduce the skill set that they need to be taught. So for us, documentation is key. We document everything. We have a software we utilize called Trainual that helps us on the back end. We have all of our standard operating procedures, everything from how do you answer the phone to how do you greet the client to what happens during the transaction, what happens during the consultation, scripted out every step of the way along the protocol. So everything is documented so that when we do franchise, we can now take franchisees and train their trainers, train their GM, train their business manager, train their admin, or what we call our chief experience officer. So we can put these systems in place and teach these along the way so that we can take other entrepreneurs who are interested in getting into the fitness space and make the impact that we do and have a tried and proven system to be able to reproduce exactly what we've done over the last 15 plus years. So it's all about documenting processes and testing them and refining them. We're always constantly going back to our systems and say, all right, well, does this still make sense? And then we're going through that because you evolve as a business owner and you evolve as a business and you evolve as your people grow, and as your business grows, things change. So you have to keep going back and reiterating. So at least once a year, if not every 6 months, you're going back to your systems and saying, does this still make sense? Mm-hmm. And then you just iterate as you go.
I want to speak about that reiterating and that that the documents and the processes, because I think that is part of what's overwhelming for business owners to go through that process. And I'll speak firsthand on that. Is when I founded Den10, the insurance company that we have, my idea was always to franchise. And from day one, I started thinking that way, and it was a lot of it inspired by Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, and then I started reading Traction and all these other books that speak about it. And so I did hire a company to help me with the documentation process. And here's where my question comes in. I'm truly a visionary, not an implementer, for one, right? And so therefore, my meetings with him, I literally have anxiety through the roof of how am I going to go through this process? I am the hour meeting with him is pulling teeth for me. It's just it's painful. And then I think what I'm getting at is the overwhelming feeling for me is I feel like I'm telling him everything and I'm investing all this money into working on it with him. And I'm like, but isn't that going to change soon? And he keeps telling me it's okay. And so I kind of would like you to help us wrap our brains around that a little bit of that it will change, I guess, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, change is inevitable, right? So, otherwise you're just going to perish. You got to change and evolve with the times and with your systems and your audience and whoever it is. So change is inevitable. So if you just come from it from that perspective, knowing that this system, this process that I'm working on today, might not be relevant in 5, 6, 12 months or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. And you just have to be okay with that. So going into it, knowing always think with the end in mind, right? And the end in mind is that, and the goal is to franchise. So, all right, the necessary steps, let's just reverse engineer it. I got to document, systemize everything I'm currently doing and put it out there and then test it, iterate it. And as things change, then we just go back and modify it. The thing that I love doing is shooting videos. So we could do Loom videos or any video software. There's tons of them out there. You could even do Zoom calls and record your frickin' for free. You don't even have to download the software and pay for it. So you could I literally like to record a lot of my stuff, and then you can get it translated and dictated, and transcribed, as if you will. They're very cheap. And so you could take your video, just get it transcribed, and all of a sudden you've got your system process. For me, again, sitting down, typing things and writing them out, it would take me forever to do. So I do a video, send it off to transcription, and all of a sudden it's nice and pretty, and just get bullet point, give it to my admin, and she'll just make it look clean. And then hand it off to somebody and say, here, take these steps by steps and do this and see what the outcome is and test it, right? And you have to inspect what you expect. So if you just have a system you think it's great, you got to have somebody else implement it and do it until you prove that it's actually a viable system. Because with the way you do it, you might leave things out. And if you left something out, you're like, well, why didn't you do this? It wasn't in the step, right? So that's why you constantly have to just keep training on it. But if you go with the end in mind, knowing that it's going to change, it's okay. So get okay with it changing soon. You got to put in the work initially, and that's why I believe so many entrepreneurs will never franchise. And I'm not sure the percentage. It might be, 3-4%. Who knows? I'm not sure. I'm making that up. That being said, though, because the daunting task of trying to scale your business, one, but also have all those systems and everything that has to be handed off to somebody for them to reproduce exactly what you're doing. It's a daunting task, but man, I believe it will be so worth it.
Yeah, I've learned that too in owning the business is that I really understand now why not everybody does it, and it's not for everybody. I always kind of, I remember speaking with my business coach about that. I was like, but doesn't everybody wants to own a business? Doesn't everybody want to be an entrepreneur? She's like, no, Michael, no, it's not for everyone. And also in franchising, just to kind of just go back to this for one more second, it's not like you just start opening up different franchise locations. You have to prove the model. You also have to, there's franchise lawyers and franchise different types of setups for it as well, right?
Yeah, it's a whole process, and it's always a learning curve. So once you have all your systems and you think you have a viable model and it's scalable, the first thing you have to do then is create what's called the franchise disclosure document. So it's an FDD. That's a legal document, and ours is 143 pages. It's you hire a franchise attorney. It's not cheap. You pay for what you get, though. And it's a necessary evil, if you will, because you have to have your FDD and then your FA, which is your franchise agreement, done before you can start marketing your franchise. So then, and there's all kinds of stuff, the financials, the setup, the initial fee, the investment, the terms, everything's in that document. So when you're having a conversation, then you can send the FDD off to a prospect, if you will, and you can talk through all of the items inside of there. So that's the biggest legal thing to start with, is to get your FDD done, and then your FA, which is your franchise agreement, because if they like what they see in the FDD and they want to become a franchisee, then you're going to be sending off the FA so you can get the agreement signed, right?
Which is so cool. I have a question for you about the whole franchise model. I know the answer for me, and I just wonder for you. When you said for other entrepreneurs to be able to open up their own location, that is, right? What does that mean to you to be able to offer that to other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, look, I don't know everything by any stretch of imagination. I have no ego in this. I at the end of the day, I want to empower other like-minded entrepreneurs that want to run a business but really want to make an impact. So my ideal prospect, if you will, is somebody who does have business sense. It's not necessarily a trainer, right? They could be. But I want somebody who has business acumen so that I don't have to teach them all the ropes of running a business, even though we could. So they can come in then and implement our systems. And our franchise model is very different in the fact that you can be very hands-off. You could hire a GM, we'll train the GM. They'll hire trainers, we'll train the trainers. We'll hire your admin staff, and we'll teach them how to do the admin stuff. But you as the business owner can then just inspect what you expect as far as the financials, the marketing, the advertising, all the key KPIs, performance indicators, the KPIs. So you can really be a hands-off entrepreneur within this investment, whereas a lot of them you cannot. Like there's restaurants, and you have to be like hands-on all the time in order to make that sucker run. Where ours is a unique opportunity. You could either be in the business and working on it, or you could work out of it and still own and operate it from that perspective. So I think that's a unique opportunity. And you have to have no fitness acumen at all, because we're going to teach you everything we need to know. We have a protocol in place, and I think that's the difference between our model and a lot of other fitness facilities is we actually utilize a protocol. So we teach and train our trainers on this protocol, and it's not taught in traditional settings because it's very different. Like we alluded to earlier. So, our protocol, we lift the weights in about 10 seconds and we lower them in 10. So we move at a slower speed. We want tension on your muscle the entire time. It robs the body momentum, and it takes all the stress off the joint. We do high-intensity strength training, so it's primarily strength training. We have selectorized exercise equipment, or we have fancy machines that we build that have a little friction on them. So we go from machine to machine to machine with no rest in between. Total body workout, like I said earlier, 20, 25 minutes back to your busy day. And that's where the protocol and the systems and everything's scripted, and we role play, do a lot of shadowing. So that's all done inside of our business systems as we franchise. So as an entrepreneur, if you just want to get into the fitness space and make a profound impact on the quality of people's lives, which what we do all day, every day, and if you really feel good about what you're doing rather than just turning out a widget, there's nothing wrong with that at the end of the day. But I want to love what I do, and I'm passionate about it. And I don't know any other industry where you can make such a profound impact on somebody. I mean, our testimonials are profound. Like, I was able to get off the floor with my grandchildren and play with them. I was able to go, to Italy and hike, and I was able to get off my blood pressure, my cholesterol medication. I reversed my type 2 diabetes. I can now functionally do what I want to do without limitations going to the doctor or having visits and, taking all these medications. It's just we profoundly impact their life and improve the quality of their life on the back nine, if they will, for all you golfers out there. Because all of our clients have, spent their life building their wealth, and they've let their health kind of suffer. And the time when you need it the most and you can enjoy it the most upon retirement, you've got more flexibility in your schedule, your health is degraded. So that's where we come in and help them in a very quick, efficient, effective, and most importantly, safe manner to turn around that quality of life so they can enjoy what they've built.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's so true. So many business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders in business too, because we're also speaking to the executives that are climbing the corporate ladder as well, is that they put their health to the side, and then it's like, how do you can't enjoy your later years in life because you're overweight or you have knee issues or whatever it is that is stopping you. Just on that entrepreneur piece, it's so cool because you talk about helping others, and when I think about the franchise model, it's a way to be able to multiply yourself to help others, and there you just described it in the ideal candidate to open up a franchise as somebody who wants to make a positive impact and help others. I think that's just such a great mission for what you're doing. Another adversity that you had to overcome was one of your biggest funders pulling funding and kind of like leaving you on the mat, to say, right? How were you able to overcome that? How were you able to push past a financial challenge?
Yeah, so when I first started this company, I had a business partner. So him and I started it, and quickly we started to grow it very quick. Had great results. One of our current clients, he's an entrepreneur, multiple businesses. He's like, man, you guys are onto something here, because it profoundly improved his quality of life. And so him and a couple of his buddies got into an investment group and put together a fund. So, we partnered together. And so they started to fund us. We opened up a second facility. We opened up a third facility. And then as they got into this, their whole thing was, at the time still, I was just a technician. I was doing personal training. I was doing consultations. I didn't really do anything with marketing or advertising, or I didn't even know what the hell core value was, or building culture, any of that stuff, right? I mean, I was just training people. So I was purely a technician who had that entrepreneurial seizure and was working in the business, right? And so, they put a lot of time and effort and money into us. And then, about, a few years later down the road, they're like, you know what, this is not a home run. They thought we were going to open up 30, 40, 50 of these and just turn them out and just turnkey it, right? And they just couldn't figure out how to market it. So, they left us high and dry with a lot of money in the prepaid sessions and no money in the bank. And we're like, what are we going to do now? So that was the moment in time that I had to make the decision of, I really need to learn how to become an entrepreneur and run a business. So I dived every waking moment into marketing, advertising, human psychology, and selling. How do you hire a team? How do you treat a team? Culture, core values, KPIs, all of these things. And I got so enamored with being an entrepreneur that I loved it so much, just to build a team and build a culture and the marketing and the psychology behind it. And then we just started growing and growing and growing and growing. Then my business partner and I, we separated. He took one studio, I took the other, and then I opened up my second studio a few years after that. And that's when that model, I said, this is going to open with the franchise in mind. It will be my model, if you will. So everything we did, from the build out to the equipment to the layout to the size, everything had to be as if it was a franchise, and we ran it like that. So the only thing I did in that studio was I did the consultations. My director of operations, I would run the marketing as if the franchisee would be doing, but my team managed it, because they ran through systems. Everything we had, we taught them how to run it. And so, like I said, when my wife passed, it was a self-managing company. And so that's when, when the investment group left, that's when I really became an entrepreneur, if you will, because before that I was purely just a technician.
Mm. And then you had to make another pivot. Then COVID happens, and you have this layout, as you mentioned. You lay out this beautiful studio. Everything has a process within this brick and mortar, and then things get shut down. And you mentioned that was another huge hurdle in your journey here. Could you share with us that pivot and what it looks like today?
Yeah, so we do one-on-one personal training in studio on fancy equipment, clinically controlled environment, so it's 67 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't sweat. We do that by design, and it's distraction-free, no mirrors, no music, so it's very clinically controlled. That being said, we're shut down, and we don't know how long that's going to be, right? So immediately within 2 to 3 days, I met with my leadership team. I was like, we have to go virtual. We can't leave our clients high and dry, because they rely on us for their fitness, and everybody's suffering now. They're all locked in. They need us now more than ever. So within a few days, I came to my team and I said, we are no longer a in-studio personal training studio. We are a virtual personal training company. So we went out and bought resistance exercise bands for every single one of our clients. We hand-delivered them, put them in their mailbox, and said, we're going to come to you via either Zoom or FaceTime, which is more convenient for you. And they're like, what is that? We had to teach them that over the phone, right? Because like I said, we deal with a lot of boomers, a lot of older people.
Sure.
They were technologically challenged. So, we figured it out. 80% of our clients stayed with us, which was amazing, because it allowed me to retain 80% of my team. And there were some people that actually had to, school their kids, which was perfect. They couldn't work anyway. So it was a good transition to be able to really work with my core team and still keep them employed, still keep my clients engaged, and keep them healthy and fit and strong, not only physically, but mentally, because we are sometimes the only consistent contact that they had during that time. Because think about it, if they're older and they're single and they're by themselves and they're shut off from their kids and their grandkids, they can't go see them, and barely talk to them, but their kids are taking care of their family and the stressors at work and everything else. So communication decreases, from the family perspective. We came in, and that's when we increased our frequency. We went from 3 days a week to email to every single day. We created content after content after content. We created free report after free report. We probably did, 30, 40 free reports within a couple weeks. It was pandemic survival kit. It's, stress, gratitude, smoothie kit, everything we could think of to help these people in that time. We wanted to be the shining light and the guiding light, if you will, in that storm. So we wanted to be that lighthouse. I even played the video for my team. If anybody has watched Forrest Gump, when Forrest goes out and he's on with Captain and they're on the Jenny and they go through the storm and they come out and they're the only boat that survived, right? Like they did get all the shrimp, right? So that was us. I told my team, we are going to be calm, cool, and collected on the surface. We're like ducks, like we're serene on top, but paddling like hell underneath, right? And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My team didn't know, and there was no certainty there. But I knew at that time I had to remain calm in the storm, and that's what people gravitate to. People need a leader. And it wasn't about being confident. It was just knowing that we needed to show up and be calm in that storm for them and be there for them when they needed us the most. So not only did we survive the pandemic, but we thrived, because when we opened back up, most of our clients came right back in, and those that struggled a little bit eventually came back in. And now, a couple years later, we're busier than we've ever been. So, and where other fitness businesses, they went dark and they didn't communicate with their clients, and then they just started to slowly shrivel up, and I've seen a lot of them shut down because of it.
This goes back to so many things in your history here of what you just said right there, of like they go dark, and we go back to, again, the adversities that you overcame through your childhood and recently, in that you just don't let anything stop you. And so many others, we allow excuses. We say, hey, COVID happened and we're shut down and I can't communicate. You kind of like made me smile here, because you said you're the shining light. And for me, when COVID happened, and for me, I'm very active in my community, part of the chambers and boards and everything. And I was like, how am I going to be able to see everybody? And I actually started, this is how I got the podcast role here at, or gig here at iHeart, was I started a video podcast called The Shining Light podcast, where I would shine a light on my guest and share who they are. And so, I really feel what you just said there. This also goes back to the idea of helping others, in that I'm not sure if this is part of one of your core values, but I mean, by that being like your North Star, your personal North Star, that you're always in it to help others, immediately you knew that you never said in there that you needed to shift a business in order to keep revenue going. You said you needed to shift a business in order to help your clientele. And when I read that you sent fitness bands out to I was like, wait a second, like you could have just done virtual. You could have been like, hey, find something in your home and start working on it. But you went and got fitness bands and sent that to each individual. I mean, just really cementing the idea that you're really in it for them. Like you're in this business for them. Just tremendous. That really sits with me. I think that's so cool. And that you said that they rely on you, because you're 100% right. So many people were shut out from the world, and it was only the consistencies in their lives of going to the gym or these like people that they would see at the grocery store or whatever that were really consistent. And then once that was gone, it was over. And so for you to just be like, hey, we're not gone. I had a similar experience with my Toastmasters group. We meet weekly at a library in person. And when COVID happened, we didn't skip a beat. Me and my leadership team at Toastmasters, we got Zoom going, we got everybody on, and we were one of the first Toastmasters groups that we didn't miss a meeting during COVID. COVID happened, shutdown happened, and that Wednesday we were online and everybody was there. And our group is still alive, that is, because of that, and thriving because of that, because we were shifted to online and we didn't let it stop us. So it was really, really cool. With everything that you've done and everything that you've shared with us, you also have carved out time to be able to give back to your community and be able to do things that are really cool and obviously that resonate with you, but and give back to other foundations and non-for-profits. But there's one that stands out, and that's the JLT Fund. I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit about that and how that helps others get through law school.
Yeah, so my wife was an attorney. far smarter than I am. We both went to undergraduate and graduate school at Case Western Reserve University here in Cleveland, so that's where we met in undergraduate. And she's a high-powered female attorney. She was working at a smaller law firm where it was all of these male-dominated field. You know, they had their ideas and opinions, and here comes this woman coming in, and she's just a trailblazer, and she's brilliant. And she was the first female partner in that law firm, and she set the path for all of the other female partners that have, come after her now. So she was definitely a trailblazer from that perspective. And she was unlike anybody that I've ever met, that she could just cultivate relationships, elementary school, high school, college, professional, community, volleyball, with my kids, whatever it is. She could always come into a room, befriend you, and just have a smile on her face and take genuine interest and keep those relationships up. So, I mean, at her funeral, it was just overwhelming how many people came, and it was just such an outpouring of love and support. And so when she passed, one of the funeral directors said, have you thought about anything to support your wife or to continue her legacy or anything? I was like, I can't think of anything. I'm in just a state of shock still. And she said, well, what about a scholarship? And I was like, brilliant. So we immediately set up a scholarship fund. And within the first week, we raised $35,000. And we determined that scholarship fund, we partnered with the Case School of Law, and we set up an endowment fund. And so the way that it works is we give money to the endowment fund. The endowment fund is $1.2 billion or whatever it is. It's huge. So you just put their money and it just keeps collecting interest, right? So our commitment was to raise over time $300,000. That $300,000 every year into perpetuity will kick off a $15,000 scholarship to either a L1 or L2 second or third year law student. L2 or 3 law student. So there's an application process. So by the end of year one, we were able to raise $100,000 out of that 300. So we presented the case to check. It was at my girls' volleyball game. They did a fundraiser for us, Volley for the Cause, which was awesome. Raised $11,000 out of that. And then fast forward this year, we did. So I created a board. I created a board of directors. I've never been on a board. I don't know how to run a board. I'm an entrepreneur. I just do everything I want. And come to know with the board, you got to ask for permission and approval, right? So, but it's great. So I championed one of my best friends and Jody's law partner, Rick Selby. And so then I also recruited 9 badass women who were in light of Jody, of entrepreneur-minded, strong-willed, impactful, just determined, independent. And so we created the JLT Fund and created the JLT Board. And our first fundraiser we just kicked off this past July. It was a golf/casino night. So we did a golf scramble, followed right behind a casino night, which, by the way, those are 2 events in one. And most people, when I told the golf course that we were doing both, they're like, you are crazy. And it's your first time doing this? I was like, yep. And so I set the goal of raising $100,000. And the reason I set that goal was because I knew another group in Virginia that had done the exact same thing, and that's where I got the idea. I don't have a lot of great ideas, but I'm good at synthesizing others and making them my own. So they did a golf and casino night, and they raised $100,000. So I had no limiting belief on the amount that I could raise, right? So I knew that somebody else did it, sure as hell we can do it, or better. And because that's the way I roll. So it's just 100%, 10X, all into it. And so we spent 9 months, marketing, advertising, creating sponsorships. And the day at the end of that event, we raised $105,000.
That is incredible.
Which I get emotional about because, that's crazy feat. I knew we could do it. When I told the board that our goal was $100,000, they all looked at me like I was crazy. And Colleen, my director of operations, is on my board, and she's like, no, he's dead serious. Welcome to my world. She works with me every day, right? Us entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy-minded, but that's okay. That's how we get shit done. That being said, so we raised $105,000. We have another event coming up. It's a dinner, dancing, raffle, baskets, just a night of entertainment at a local restaurant that one of Jody's best friends from college, she works there. Her brother started the business there. So that's on November 5th. My goal is to raise another, not $100,000, but by the end of this year, I want to present another $100,000 a case. So that'll give us 2/3 the way there. And then next year, my goal is another $100,000, so we could see that entire commitment of $300,000. People can find more information at thejltfund.org if they're interested just to hear about the story, hear about the foundation. I'm not asking for donations, but that would be amazing. That's the thing. One of my friends said, you got to get used to selling. I said, I hate asking for money. Like, I can do it in business, it's fine. But when it's personal, it's like, I just feel like I'm manipulating conversations and relationships. But one of my friends said, no, just, you got to ask, and we will gladly give. Mm-hmm. And it's been amazing. So, starting the JLT fund coming out of all of this, so we can help a female law student who's maybe struggling with finances and really seek and empower others through the tool of law like Jody did. So we want to continue her impact and legacy through the JLT fund, and more importantly, so that my girls can see that what an amazing impact my wife had made, but continues to make day in and day out moving forward.
Keeps her memory alive, and I'd just like to hold a space for Jody real quick. Obviously very emotional, but it's definitely a great inspirational story for others. And I think not only does this fund that you just shared, or the scholarship that you just shared, help these young women get through law school, but I also think it inspires the ones who are thinking about law school or thinking about just being successful. I think it's like you said, you're raising three daughters. I have 2 daughters of my own. It's also just like blazing that path, right? And showing them that they are supported, and we support their dreams and ambitions. And so I think it's a wonderful fund. I love that 100K and everybody's like, you can't do that. And all of a sudden you do it. Like, I mean, yeah, you're right. That is, there's nothing blocking us. And I think that's such a perfect segue into your mantra that you live by. Now, you put 2 here, of course, Zig Ziglar, well known with all the Brian Tracy's and Dale Carnegie's of the world. But the one that I would like to read off for everybody is that of Gandhi's, which is, be the change you want to see in the world, and how that resonates with you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I learned, years ago that I can't control anybody. I can't change anybody, nor should I try. And the only thing that I can control is truly me. And so I just want to show up every day and be the best version of myself and try to fulfill the abilities that God has given me. And just like I said, so many people go through life untapped into their capabilities and abilities. And I don't want to meet my maker at the end of the day and he says, you could have been this, and this. I won't leave anything on the table. So I want to make sure I'm utilizing every opportunity, every resource, and just every day trying to make a profound impact on the quality of everybody else's life. Because like you said to that Zig Ziglar quote, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. Mm. And, we can't control their outside circumstances, like through the pandemic. There's so many things we cannot control. But we can control how we respond to things. And that's what I always try to resonate with is, well, I have a situation. Man, is it horrific or shitty? But how am I going to respond to it? And how am I going to show up as the best version of me? Telling to lead my family, my girls, because Jody was such a huge inspiration and leader for them, being an independent female. And, thank God she put her footprint on them. They say by the age of 7, I think we're pretty much developed in our personality and everything else that we have. So thank God that she served her time doing that. So it was awesome. So all I'm trying to do right now is not mess it up. I have a huge amount of respect for my wife, obviously, and I just need to keep leading by her example. And that's, I have, there's the bracelet WWJD. So when Jody passed, I immediately went out and bought hundreds of bracelets, and it's the easiest public speaking event I've ever done. I walked into the room so nervous, and as soon as I started to speak, it was just like a calm set over me, like she was there and said, it's okay. But so WWJD is, what would Jody do? We have a sign in our house, and we got the bracelets there, and we take them to all the events. And when life throws you a curveball, just think, what would Jody do? So that's it's still the inspiration for me moving forward. So
incredible. And if your daughters are anything like my daughters, they like to watch our YouTube videos and listen to our podcast. And they're not going to listen to this in its entirety, but they're going to look for their shout out. So please shout out your daughters.
Yeah, so I have Paige, Chloe, and Emma. Paige is 13. She's in the 8th grade. Chloe's 16, and she's a junior. And I've got Emma, who's a freshman at the University of Cincinnati. So those are my 3 princesses.
Cool.
Sure.
Awesome. I love what you said too, in that bringing the best, we could only be the best version of ourselves, because so often as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, we have this feeling that we're not doing enough and that we're not enough and all of this. But I think when you go back to what you just said there of like, just be the best version of yourself, and that is enough. And just keep going through. I think is just really, really great. So if you want to see some of Jeff's inspirational videos, he's got a great YouTube channel. We're going to have all the links in the show notes and everything, but really great YouTube channel. And actually a lot of the stuff that we spoke about today is right in the YouTube channel. I'm kind of like reminded of some of the videos that I watched. I love that, being able to jump on a podcast with somebody that I haven't met yet and be able to meet them through YouTube and through video. So I really, really love that. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, but also sharing so much with us. It's truly, truly appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I have a gift for your audience too. So we have what we call a six-week lifestyle challenge. They can go to maxstrengthfitness.com/change. So that's maxstrengthfitness.com/change. And over those 6 weeks, via email, we'll guide them through. They get into an online portal. Disconnect from your screens and reconnect with your loved ones. The benefit and the magic of meditation, and to cut through all the stress that we all go through on a daily basis. How to express and make gratitude part of your life. Improve your sleep, especially in these trying times and these weird times. Connect with the outdoors. So take all these lessons, make them habits, put them into practice, and by the end of the 6 weeks, you'll begin to transform your life just like we do with our clients. So that's my gift to your audience. I appreciate the attention today, so thank you so much.
Incredible. Thank you very much. And just give out one of your social media handles, maybe the easiest one that you can share so that everybody can find you.
Yeah, Facebook, Max Strength Fit. So Max Strength Fitness, you can just search that. You can search Max Strength Fitness in YouTube. You see my 100+ videos in there.
Awesome.
You can go to our website, which is the easiest thing, just maxstrengthfitness.com. All of our social handles are on the bottom of the page there.
Awesome. And that'll all be
and franchising information is on there too. Anybody that wants to make an impact and be an entrepreneur, make a great living, and make a great impact on people's lives. So.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing everything. That's it. That's a wrap. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Jeff.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to The Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito Inc.